I used to believe that time healed all wounds, but it only taught me how to live with the pain. 10 years later, I still flinch when I hear her name. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks of me, but most nights I'm sure she doesn't. Because if she did, she wouldn't have left me with only memories sharper than broken glass. It started on an ordinary summer day, the kind where the sun stretches lazily across the sky, indifferent to the world below. I was sitting at a coffee shop downtown, nursing a cold brew I didn't particularly like. The bitter taste matched the mood I had carried for months, indifferent, detached, as if life was passing by and I was merely an observer. Then she walked in. She wasn't stunning in the way magazines glorify, but there was something about her, something raw and unfiltered. Her dark hair was tied loosely at the nape of her neck, strands falling haphazardly around her face. Her eyes were the kind that didn't just look at you, they saw through you. She glanced around, caught me staring, and smiled. A fleeting moment, but one that planted itself deep in my chest. I wish I could say I walked up to her with confidence, but I didn't. I spent 30 minutes watching her sit by the window, scribbling in a leather-bound journal, her lips curving into faint smiles as if she were lost in a world only she could see. It wasn't until the barista called her name, Maya, that I finally summoned the courage to approach. "Hi," I blurted out, awkward and unsure. I couldn't help but notice, "You're writing." She looked up, amused. That's usually what a journal's for. It wasn't the smoothest start, but something about her warmth pulled me in. That day turned into coffee dates. Coffee dates turned into late night drives, and before I knew it, she wasn't just part of my world. She was my world. Maya was a whirlwind, and I was the leaves she carried with her. She had this way of making the mundane feel extraordinary. A walk in the park turned into a philosophical debate about life. Cooking dinner together felt like a symphony of chaos and laughter. She taught me how to live, how to feel. One night, under a canopy of stars, she turned to me and said, "Do you think love can last forever?" Her question caught me off guard. "Of course," I replied. "Why wouldn't it?" She smiled, but there was a sadness behind it, a shadow I couldn't quite place. People change, though, and sometimes, no matter how much you love someone, it's not enough to keep them. I wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but the way she looked at me as if she already knew something I didn't, silenced me. The first crack in our perfect world appeared one night. We were decorating our tiny apartment for Christmas when she suddenly stopped and stared out the window. "I don't think I can do this forever," she said softly. I frowned. "Do what?" "Us." The word hit me like a punch to the gut. "What are you talking about? We're happy, Maya, aren't we?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned back to the tree, placing a fragile glass ornament on one of the branches. Sometimes love isn't enough. I didn't understand what she meant, and she wouldn't explain. Over the next few weeks, she grew distant, retreating into a shell I couldn't crack. I tried everything: romantic dinners, surprise getaways, even therapy, but nothing seemed to bring her back. The day she left, it rained. She stood by the doorway, her suitcase in hand, looking at me with those same eyes that once saw through me. Now they only reflected regret. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought I could stay, but I can't." "Why, Maya? What did I do wrong?" My voice cracked. Desperate. "It's not you," she said. "It's me. I don't know who I am anymore, and I can't figure it out here." I wanted to beg her to stay, to tell her I'd help her find herself, but I knew it wouldn't matter. She had already made up her mind, and just like that, she was gone. For weeks, I couldn't function. I left the apartment untouched, her half-empty coffee cup still sitting on the counter, her favorite sweater draped over the couch. Nights were the hardest. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every word, every kiss, wondering where it all went wrong. I tried dating again, but every smile felt forced, every touch hollow. No one could fill the void Maya left behind. A year after she left, I got a letter. It was postmarked from a small town in Maine, a place I had never heard of. "Dear Ethan," it began, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me for the way I left, but I need you to know the truth. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I was sick. My hands trembled as I read her words. She had been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer shortly before we met, but chose to keep it from me. She didn't want me to see her deteriorate, to carry the weight of her illness. I wanted you to remember me the way I was, she wrote, strong, happy, alive, not as the woman who slowly faded away. I found her grave 6 months later, tucked away in a quiet cemetery by the sea. The headstone was simple, just her name and the dates of her too short life. As I stood there, the weight of her loss finally broke me. I cried for all the moments we lost, for the life we could have had, for the love that was stolen from us too soon. But in that moment, I also found a strange kind of peace. Maya had loved me enough to protect me, even when it meant breaking my heart. It's been 10 years since Maya left, and not a day goes by that I don't think of her. Her laughter still echoes in my mind, her smile etched into my soul. I've learned to live again, to find joy in small things, but a part of me will always belong to her, because some loves aren't meant to last forever, but they change you forever.